In the first section of our training, we'll discuss the foundations of digital marketing. We'll talk about driving forces, major players, and recent trends in this very fast-changing industry. Before we proceed, I want to share with you a concept that will be with us for the duration of our course. The concept is based on a very simple table representing the results of a fictitious marketing campaign. It represents the ultimate goal of digital marketing. This table illustrates the ideal results of any digital marketing campaign. The numbers presented here are fictional, but they represent the most desirable relationships among them. The first column shows the metrics we'll be tracking, such as visits, engagements, conversion, expenses, revenues, and profits. The second column shows the percentage variance between our plan and actual campaign results. The two remaining columns depict the planned and actual results. In this case, we planned on getting 1.2 million visits, but we got 3% more than we expected. The first line, visits, represents the number of visits to our web page. Our plan called for 1.2 million visitors. The actual number was 1,241,000, which is 3% higher. Our expectations were based on the previous campaign, but we wrote better copy for our listing that shows up in Google search results. So, more people clicked on our listing. Great! The second line, engagements, represents the number of visitors who engaged with our website for, let's say, more than 1 minute. The definition of what constitutes engagement can be as simple as anybody who did not exit right away. On average, the longer the visitor stays on our website, the better. Our expectations were exceeded by 9% because we posted more relevant content since our last campaign. This means that not only did we get more visitors than we expected, but more visitors stayed on our website longer, and they were reading more than we expected. That's even better. The third line, conversions, shows the number of visitors who converted. Conversion is defined here as making a phone call to a number listed on the website, filling out a form, making a payment, downloading more information, or getting an answer via online chat. We exceeded our own plan by 19% because we supplemented the written content with product videos. This means not only that we attracted more visitors and engagements, but these engaged visitors did something that digital marketing is all about. They completed the journey that resulted in sales or leads by leaving more information on how to reach them. That's the ultimate digital marketing dream. However, to call this campaign a success, one needs to look at the return on investment, or ROI. Here, we've achieved stellar results as well. Expenses were lower than expected. How often does that happen? This may have been the result of some tasks done in-house instead of hiring outside help. Revenue was 15% higher than we had forecast due to more visits, more engagements, and more conversions. Therefore, profit exceeded our expectations by almost 40%. As we mentioned before, the numbers for plan and actual are fictitious, but the relationships between them are feasible and desirable. Similar results presented here are the ultimate goal for any campaign. Assuming that the plan numbers were realistic, we did more with less expense, and we were able to prove it. How often does that happen? These numbers should be available online in real time to enable real-time tracking and analysis. At a minimum, we should be able to examine them discreetly by the products and services we sell, by geography, by customer demographics such as age, income, marital status, and so on, and by our own digital marketing channels, including paid ads, search, social media, and email, and all of these over selected periods of time. We need to be able to answer the ageless questions of who, when, where, and what was purchased as a result of our digital marketing efforts. If we can't answer these questions, it will be impossible to determine what works and where we should shift our resources. Today, very few companies can do this analysis online in real time. We'll be discussing throughout our course why it's so hard to come up with such a simple report. And now, on to the driving forces behind the digital marketing phenomenon and what's driving the relentless changes in marketing technologies. This simple chart provides an explanation for the single largest driver of never-ending changes in technologies. On the Y or vertical axis is money. On X or horizontal axis is time. As shown by the red downward sloping line, the price of technology is diving down all the time. I know of nothing comparable in the history of humanity that keeps providing more for less. Gordon Moore, the co-founder of Intel, predicted this trend in 1965. Moore's law simply states that the number of transistors per square inch on integrated circuits had doubled every year since the integrated circuit was invented. Most experts, including Moore himself, expect Moore's law to hold for at least another 2 decades. Translation: computing power doubles every year without a price increase. Can you even imagine what's yet to come? So, if you wanted to get the same computing power in 1991 that you have on your iPhone today, you would have had to pay $3.5 million. The Apollo mission to the moon had less computing power than an average iPhone today. Our table shows that 1 gigabyte of hard disk storage cost $10,000 in 1991. Now it's 4 cents. 1 gigabyte of flash memory was a whopping $45,000. Now you can have it for about 50 cents. Thus, on average, the cost of comparable computing power today is orders of magnitude less than what it was in 1991. 1/10,000th to be exact. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Let's assume that in 1991, a nice Corvette cost about $30,000 and it was getting 15 miles per gallon. If we were to use the 10,000 ratio of price decrease since 1991, a nice Corvette would cost us $3 today, and we would be getting 150,000 miles per gallon. This very rapid decrease in hardware, software, and telecommunication costs has enabled the collection, movement, storage, and real-time analysis of massive amounts of data at a reasonable cost. The concept of big data was born. In just the last 10 years, this made possible the creation of, among others, Facebook, with its 1.2 billion users. Google, that gets billions of queries daily. GPS technologies that track millions of locations in any given moment. And YouTube, where millions of videos are uploaded daily. According to Amit Singhal, Senior Vice President of Google Search in 2012, Google's search engine found more than 30 trillion unique URLs on the web. It crawls 20 billion sites a day and processes 3.3 billion searches per day. This was not technically feasible in 1991, and even if it was, it would have been prohibitively expensive. We collect so much data that a new measurement unit was needed to depict these staggering amounts. The new measurement unit is petabyte. It's 10 to the power of 15 bytes. To get a better idea of the amount of data behind 1 petabyte, try to imagine the amount of data on 223,000 DVDs, each containing about 5 gigabytes. For reference, the daily internet traffic is around 700 petabytes, and Facebook stores approximately 200 petabytes. 1 petabyte? 20 million 4-drawer filing cabinets filled with text. 1 petabyte? 13.3 years of HD TV video. 1.5 petabytes, size of the 10 billion photos on Facebook. 20 petabytes, the amount of data processed by Google per day. 20 petabytes, total hard drive space manufactured in 1995. 50 petabytes, the entire written works of mankind from the beginning of recorded history in all languages. The very rapid decrease in the cost of hardware, software, and telecommunications enabled business models whereby the service is free and the cost of running the service is covered by digital advertising. This is how digital advertising was born. We'll talk in more detail about the various types of digital advertising later in our course. That rapid decrease in hardware, software, and telecom costs has also led to the proliferation of smartphones, which themselves are powerful computers with GPS. Today, there are around 200 million smartphones in the U.S. Because of this, smartphones lead to over 40% of all searches today originating from these powerful devices. Over 65% of emails are being opened first on smartphones. We're just glued to these devices most of our days. Smartphones became so important in digital marketing that today, one is unlikely to succeed in opening a new restaurant that cannot be easily found on a smartphone mobile app. As the price of hardware and software is decreasing, the cost of knowledge workers is increasing, though not at the same rate. However, the cost of professional employees is, for many businesses, the single largest cost of their operations. Therefore, it's very important to equip increasingly expensive professionals with the best tools, especially since the cost of these tools continues to drop. Let's put another dimension on our familiar chart. On the blue axis, on the right-hand side, we added human IQ, the average human IQ. It is relatively stable, and it's not likely to increase much anytime soon. Therefore, the biggest challenge is how we as humans can absorb all these new and continuous changes when our brains have limited capacity to absorb and retain knowledge. With the right approach and implementation processes, these technological changes can be absorbed and can lead to increased profits. With the wrong approach, they become frustrating and lead to costly mistakes, draining resources and energies. So far, we've talked about the decreasing prices of software and hardware. In the end, they translate to a much lower cost of measurement. We can measure so much more now, and with a precision unimaginable only a few years ago. In summary, we can measure with much more precision. We can count all the clicks on any website every second. We even know the XY coordinates of every click. This is very useful in testing user interfaces, as we can tell where most people click on your page and if they may be confused with a poor website design. We'll cover this in more detail later in the course. So we can both measure at very granular levels as well as aggregate massive volumes of data in real time. This translates into real-time analytics, which can alert us to unfavorable trends while they're happening. For example, we can very quickly spot users abandoning a shopping cart for a certain product on a massive e-commerce site. We're not only in the midst of technological revolution, we're in the midst of the measurement revolution. One of the biggest advantages of digital marketing is the ability to analyze massive amounts of data to determine what strategies and channels work the best. We can attribute a single email to $1 million sale if we have the right measurement system in place. We'll discuss in detail how to set up such a measurement system later in our course. The measurement revolution is a big challenge for traditional marketers who, for the most part, are not big fans of technology and analytics. Traditionally, marketing used to attract creative folks with an allergy to details, software, and data analysis. Now, the lack of these skills can derail the best creative campaigns. So keep calm and join the measurement revolution. Better measurements will set you free. In conclusion, it's not about a lack of technology. It's not about the price of tools. They're relatively cheap. But it is about our ability to absorb and integrate all these technologies into our marketing processes. It's about integrating them in such a way that they help to grow the business instead of becoming a frustrating and costly obstacle. Digital marketing can be confusing and frustrating, or it could be the least expensive way to grow your business. Amidst all this complexity, there are two simple golden rules of digital marketing. If applied, your business will most likely grow. These two rules are: 1. To find and to be found. 2. ABC. Attract, bring, and convert. The first rule, to find and to be found, represents two sides of the same coin. The internet is a giant digital haystack. On one hand, you, as a user, want to be able to find what you're looking for very quickly among billions of sites. So you use search engines such as Google, Yahoo, and Bing. You type what you're looking for, and in a matter of seconds, you may get your answer. On the other hand, you want to be found as a business when prospective clients look for prospective suppliers, don't you? So how can you help them find you? How important is it to your business that you're easily found? What can you do to ensure that you can be found in seconds? We'll discuss some techniques in great detail soon. They are the heart of digital marketing. The second golden rule, which is closely related to the first one, is the ABC of digital marketing. A for attract, B for bring, C for convert. The idea is to attract potential customers to click on your listing in search results. For example, if a prospect is looking for a green widget and you are in the green widget business, your company should show up at the top of search engine listings. But it's not enough to rank high. The prospect sees several companies listed. And even if you are ranking number 1, it does not guarantee they will click on your listing. You have to attract them, and you have only about 200 characters to do that. In our example here, someone is looking for a paradise vacation. So they typed in the phrase, called keyword, in Google. Google has returned 5 listings on the page. The first 2 listings are not very enticing. The second is displayed in a different language, most likely unknown to the person doing the search in English. The third listing, circled in red, is not going to attract a lot of clicks either. Why would I want to log into some site before I even know what this site can offer? The most relevant listing is just below it, from Expedia. The last listing is just for honeymooners and cruisers, and I may not be interested in either. Case in point, the top 3 listings are unlikely to get many clicks despite being on the top. Let's assume that a user clicked on the listing circled in red anyway. That click would bring them to a page with an offer. This page violates almost all the rules of good design. Very few pictures, a lot of poorly formatted text, poor colors, and no visible phone number, to name a few. Let's assume that the user clicks on the Contact Us tab anyway. This will bring them to yet another poorly designed page, a contact form. How would I know what resort I'm interested in if the descriptions were not easily found on the previous page? This is one of the best examples of how not to attract, bring, and convert your prospective customers. So keep calm and follow the golden rules of digital marketing for easy navigation through the maze of the measurement revolution. We've just completed the first section of the Foundations module. We've talked about the driving force behind relentless technological changes and how to harness them. The underlying driving force is the never-ending decrease in the price of hardware and software. The next section is about the major industry players, fascinating companies that have built their global empires in less than 10 years. This table shows the major players and the markets they're in. It's a fascinating landscape. There are three players in the browser business: Apple with Safari, Google with Chrome, and Microsoft with Explorer. And with Firefox running on all platforms, we don't see any one of the three firms in a position to dominate the market. From the digital marketing perspective, a variety of browsers increases the cost of testing website development, as sites have to look good in all four browsers. As far as hardware and operating systems go, we have four major players. Apple with its own iOS, iPads, and iPhones, iBeacons, and iWatches. Samsung with smartphones using Android from Google as the operating system. Google with Android, Chromebook, and Chromecast. And Microsoft with Windows. If you use smartphone apps as part of your digital marketing mix, you need to support both iOS and Android versions. In the music business, we have Apple, Alibaba, Google's YouTube, Yahoo, and Amazon, with Apple dominating the space with iTunes. Video is totally dominated by Google's YouTube. Interestingly, four titans are in the news business. Apple has just recently entered that market, with Yahoo, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter already established. Today, Facebook is the leader, with major publishers streaming their content inside Facebook feeds, the most recent example being the New York Times. E-commerce is dominated by Amazon, but the recent entry of Alibaba into the American market may change that dynamic. You can buy things online with Google and Facebook, but e-commerce does not seem to be their focus. The very lucrative business of search is completely dominated by Google, but all other players, with the exception of Apple and Samsung, are trying to get some share of this pie. Social media for B2C, business to consumer, is dominated by Facebook and Twitter. Google has failed to get its Google Plus to be widely used. LinkedIn dominates social media for professionals. Apple, Alibaba, Google, and Facebook are involved in application development such as games, activity tracking, online ordering, and so on. Google seems to have a presence in all markets. Everybody but Samsung is in the paid ads business in one way or another. From the perspective of a digital marketer, Google has to be followed, observed, and analyzed the most. Their dominance in the search business is not going to erode anytime soon, and Google keeps changing the rules of the game in response to growing pressure from its shareholders for more profits. The second major force is Facebook. Facebook users are just glued to this platform as measured by time spent by users on their social media platform. In B2C marketing, Facebook will be an integral part of any digital marketing efforts for years to come. The same is true for LinkedIn in B2B, or business-to-business marketing. All the titans are competing with each other on many fronts, and the picture is very dynamic. Some players enter new segments, such as Apple with the news business. Some players exit, like Microsoft, abandoning its Nokia acquisition. The bottom line is that every one of the major players wants to get as much share of your time by tying you with content and/or hardware. From the financial perspective, today Apple leads the pack with great hardware, apps, and music, and now the news. Sometimes we wonder why they didn't enter the social media business. It would be a natural fit. Maybe Apple will merge with Facebook to challenge Google. Who knows? Apple is the largest company in the world in terms of market capitalization. It's bigger than ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson, and Walmart. Google is barely 10 years old, and it's bigger than Johnson & Johnson, which has been in business for over 120 years, or Walmart, which has been around for over 40 years. To get a perspective on how large the Internet titans are, we can compare their annual revenues to the annual gross domestic product of entire countries. Thus, Apple's revenue is equal to all domestic production of Ecuador, Amazon is comparable to Kenya, Yahoo to Mongolia, and Microsoft to Croatia. Isn't that something? The following 2 slides summarize the section on major players. Google is facing competition for search from Amazon and aggregators such as Yelp, Manta, and Wow.com. It's still hard to find good information on Google despite all the progress. Yelp, for example, does a much better job listing local restaurants on smartphones. If I'm looking for a breakfast place in a new town during a business trip, I won't use Google search to find the right place. Yelp has a superior interface, shows me the distance to a restaurant, and gives me a quick idea of its quality. The same goes for Manta when I do research for B2B companies. The number of searches for products on Amazon exceeds the number of searches for the same products on Google by a factor of 3. So Google is not the only game in town. Facebook, Amazon, LinkedIn, and Pinterest all offer paid ads. Money-losing Amazon will be facing a profitable Alibaba. Microsoft is not a major force outside of Office products. Remember how we were afraid of Microsoft? They used to dominate the technology space to the same degree that today's titans do in Internet technologies. Nothing is certain in these fast-changing tech industries, and the market dominance of top players cannot be taken for granted. We would not dare to predict how this market will look in just 10 years. Facebook has the largest number of users on mobile devices. This includes Instagram and WhatsApp. Mobile advertising is growing fast. Google, Apple, and Microsoft have their own browsers. Google controls Android, the operating system for the majority of smartphones in the world. Globally, Google has a 63% market share in search on desktops and 92% on mobile devices. On the lighter side, I wonder what's better, Google, Yahoo, or Bing? Wait, I'll Google it. In summary, Apple, Google, and Facebook are here to stay. Social media will see fads come and go as the younger generation will become ashamed of using Facebook, and Facebook will be buying up faddish new platforms as they did with Instagram and WhatsApp. The 2 mobile operating systems, Android and iOS, will dominate for years to come, with Android taking more market share. The titans are also getting into the Internet of Things space. Apple with iWatch and iBeacon, and Google with the Nest thermostat. The Internet of Things, or the proliferation of cheap sensors in medicine, manufacturing, and construction, to name a few, combined with the ability to analyze data in real time, may bring about a powerful new player, as potential in this market is huge. We've already talked about it, but it's very important. So let's repeat that. 34% of all searches today begin on smartphones, and 65% of emails are opened on smartphones. These numbers will only grow, and they have great impact, especially on local B2C businesses that must have a good mobile presence, or they'll miss a lot of traffic. There is definitely a trend toward using more video. Pages with videos convert better as they convey the message much better than text or static images. Video creation is still expensive and time-consuming, but it's getting cheaper. A simple recorded slide presentation can make a great video, and it doesn't have to be produced by a top movie studio. Another indisputable trend is toward much better content. Why is everyone talking about better content? There are several reasons. First of all, relevance. The more relevant content is to our search, the more likely visitors will engage and not leave our website immediately. The better the copy, pictures, and video, the more likely visitors will engage. And the better the content, the more likely the website will rank high in searches because search engines have a way of evaluating content. Search engines will be rewarding quality because it's in their best interest. They don't want to produce listings with irrelevant and poor content because users will switch to the engine that does a better job of filtering out poor quality. There is still a lot of work ahead of us as the majority of websites don't do a good job of conveying the value proposition of their businesses. Samsung's smartphone sales over the 2014 holidays were somewhere between 71 million and 75 million units, putting it roughly on par with Apple, which sold a record 74.5 million iPhones over the same period. In general, it's expected that Android phones will outsell Apple as various phone manufacturers can take advantage of the free Android operating system as opposed to the closely held Apple iOS. Despite all the publicity, e-commerce in the U.S. accounts for less than 7% of sales in terms of revenue. Yes, a lot of people do shop online, but they buy small products while trying to avoid shipping costs. Thus, the average online transaction is rather small compared to brick-and-mortar retail transactions. Despite being on the market for quite some time, and despite the domination of e-commerce in the U.S., Amazon has yet to make a profit. The fact that investors still have not lost patience with them is a reflection of their belief about the future of e-commerce. However, the recent entry of Alibaba, the Chinese combination of Amazon, Google, and Facebook into the American market, does not bode well for Amazon. Alibaba is profitable and very large. In general, e-commerce will experience downward pressures on profitability as the two titans fight things out. Unless you have a unique product, it will become harder to make decent margins on e-commerce, especially since Amazon tends to compete with its own suppliers. As if digital marketing analysis was not very complex already, there's another analytical challenge facing B2C firms. Due to the proliferation of smartphones, a lot of searches, price comparisons, and online purchases are taking place inside stores. It gets even more complicated as buyers search on multiple devices over periods of time, and then respond to last-minute offers while they're still in the store. If they opt in to be tracked in the store, they may receive a coupon based on their location in the store and/or previous search patterns. In such circumstances, it's hard to attribute any particular promotion to the actual sale. These multi-channel buying journeys are here to stay, and in-store tracking is just taking off. So it remains to be seen how soon there will be a reliable way to keep track of such complex behaviors. Big changes are coming to TV advertising as well. It's predicted that by 2018, Internet advertising will be poised to overtake TV as the largest advertising segment. That means a big loss of revenue to traditional TV, which will only accelerate its demise in its current form. Watching habits are changing too. People are shifting to streaming services with clickable ads like Pluto TV, or they subscribe to Netflix for $8 a month and drop cable subscriptions costing $150 per month. Streaming TV has another great advantage over traditional TV. The ads are clickable and thus traceable. This is a huge advantage over traditional TV advertising, where it's impossible to attribute the sale to an ad. As we discussed previously, YouTube is already in the news and entertainment business. According to Nielsen, YouTube reaches more U.S. adults aged 18 to 34 than any cable network. And the younger generation doesn't need a big flat panel TV. They stream it on smartphones, tablets, and desktops. We mentioned briefly before that Google is facing competition from aggregators with reviews. Since Google does not specialize in any industry or search segment, it's hard to come up with relevant content since the intentions of users are unknown. Let me give you an example. If you search on the word coffee, Google has no way of knowing your intention. Is it to learn about coffee origins or to find the nearest coffee shop? So when you type coffee into Google, you will get a lot of articles about coffee, while you may just be thirsty for a little caffeine. If you type coffee into Yelp, it will produce a list of coffee shops nearby, sorted by distance from your current location. The same holds true for the word printer. It has at least 3 meanings. Printer is a piece of hardware. It could be a print shop or maybe a profession. So if I go to Manta, which aggregates information on businesses, and type printer, I know I will get a list of print shops as opposed to a list of ads for color laser printers. That lack of knowledge of intent is hurting search engines. They list a lot of irrelevant results and create a lot of frustration. To make things even more challenging, 16 to 20% of queries that get asked every day have never been asked before. This is because the language is changing and how questions are asked is changing. This is especially true for voice searches while driving. As we said before, people search differently with voice on phones as compared to typing on desktops. And speaking of smartphones, in addition to searches and price comparisons, pretty soon we'll be making mobile payments. Whoever dominates mobile payments will make a lot of money. The importance of mobile presence and payments is demonstrated by these 2 examples. First, Home Depot has announced it will spend $1.5 billion to improve its supply chain and other back-end systems related to mobile ordering. This is a lot of money to make sure that customers can buy things with just a few clicks on their iPhone. Another example is Hilton Worldwide, which is investing $550 million to serve its guests in their mobile moments and transform its entire customer experience. To summarize, we do not anticipate that the rate of change will slow down. If anything, it will accelerate. There is a definite need to pay more attention to mobile presence, mobile advertising, videos, and streaming. Creativity and innovation will become even more important. With so many technical alternatives, channels, and ways to communicate with customers, it will take a creative mind to pull it all together. Very few individuals or even teams will have the skill sets to combine the creative, technical, and analytical aspects of digital marketing. Few companies, especially smaller ones, will be able to attract and retain digital marketing talent. This leads us to believe that they will have to rely on a network of specialized suppliers. There will be much more tracking and much more data to collect, store, and analyze. We'll be tracking more data such as ad performance, search patterns, time spent watching video, opened email, and social reach, Facebook likes, tweets, and retweets. And we'll track all this on multiple internet channels, in stores, at home, and while driving. After we collect all this data, someone will have to make sense of it. There will be a need for a lot of data analysts for optimal allocation of resources. In general, we see a growing demand for multidisciplinary talents like copywriters and copy editors, multimedia skills, especially video and voice talents, business analysts, marketing specialists, and IT go-betweens, and data analysis for drawing conclusions and recommending actions. As the famous Greek philosopher Heraclitus observed many years ago, the only thing that is constant is change. Yes, there will be a lot of changes. We just have to learn how to manage them. Digital marketing could be a ride in the fast lane. The roller coaster analogy is perfect here. There will be a lot of ups and downs, and it will be a team ride. It could be a little scary, but it promises a happy ending. The likelihood of that happy ending increases with adherence to the best processes and practices of digital marketing. And this is what we're going to discuss in the remaining modules of our training. So far, while discussing the foundations of digital marketing, we covered the driving force behind all this rapid change. That driving force is less expensive and more powerful hardware and software. We introduced the major players, fascinating new internet businesses that made it to the top in less than 10 years, like Google, Facebook, Amazon. Lastly, we looked at the latest internet trends, with the most profound being the shift to mobile devices. Next, we'll introduce our digital marketing framework, the basis for the rest of our course. These references are available online for students who are enrolled in this course.